So let me introduce myself. I am Audrey Matthews. I've been teaching here for the last 2 years at the University of Akureyri. In my former life, I was an academic at De Montfort University in Leicester. It's interesting to note that I started my academic life looking at historic plastics and how to conserve them. You know, there are some great works of art, items of clothing, Mary Quant, etc., models, anatomical models, and models of like offshore oil rigs that are degrading. This is a big issue within the museum industry, and there are scientists involved in working out the degradation processes in order to conserve valuable items, maybe not monetary valuable, but certainly valuable. In the latter part of my life, I took over as course leader of a master's programme in environmental technology and management. And then, of course, I switched to looking at aspects of environmental conservation. I'm still interested in historic plastics. I don't know any other person who enjoys picking up an ancient piece of Tupperware in Hertex, but you know, there are some of us out there. So what I'm going to talk about briefly, it's a brief and simple overview of Wishcycling, in particular playing most emphasis on plastics. Okay. And this is hopefully food for thought for you, but also I'll present some results of an initial study that myself and Auster Asmundsdottir have done and presented. I forgot to put my timer on. Okay, so now I need to just forward the slide. Okay, so I've used this term wishcycling. It's unclear whether this word originated in the US or in the UK. But certainly when I went back to the UK about this time last year, it was all over the press, this idea about us wishcycling. Now, it should reveal something here. Oh, here we go. So, BBC News. Yes, it was all over the BBC News. There we are. The do's and don'ts about being good at recycling. Also, The Guardian had an article, Stop Wishcycling, Get Wise to Recyclable, to recycle almost everything. And I'm just going to move this one out of the way. Okay, and The Independent as well. So key media on the television, but also newspapers, were talking about this wishcycling. Wishcycling is the disposal of consumer waste in a recycle bin with the hope, with the wish, that it will be recycled. This is interesting. People have really good intentions, most people, when it comes to recycling. But they don't always appear to be getting it right, hence wishcycling. They really hope that it will be recycled. So the material that they're putting in recycling cannot or is unlikely to be recycled. It can lead to contamination. This is what hit the news. Plastic contamination. There was so much contamination within the batches of recycling that the actual whole batch went to landfill. So all of the efforts that members of the public had put in with the aim of recycling appropriately all went to nothing. It went to landfill. Okay. And this has been quite common in the UK. So in the UK, I'm now going to come to Iceland after this, but in the UK, there are certain things that you can and cannot recycle. What they tend to dwell on is the triangle. If you see a triangle with a number in it, you can recycle it. You put it in the recycling bin, and these are sorted, separated, and dealt with appropriately. There are a number of factories that will deal with these these particular classes of plastics. They don't want drinking glasses, soft plastics, foil pouches and crisp packets, juice boxes, soup cartons, plastic toys, wet cardboard, okay, so this is moving out of plastic, toothpaste tubes, glass, cookware, dirty takeaway containers, and tissues and paper towels that have been used. It's interesting, other things that have been found to be wish-cycled, and this is from the UK. They say plastic bags, hoses, Christmas trees, wrapping paper, gift bags, pizza boxes, clementine boxes, clothing, bed sheets, ink cartridges, soiled paper products, and styrofoam, as we would call it, polystyrene. In addition, hazardous, toxic, clinical waste materials, electrical appliances and batteries. So, with the exception of perhaps the pizza boxes, although I'm not sure, and clementine boxes, everything there can contain an amount of plastic, a mixed media form, not the soiled paper products. So people have identified that this material contains plastic, therefore I'm putting it in plastic waste. So after reviewing what was publicised in the UK, and it is said that 72% of Brits admit to wish-cycling, I wondered, bringing this thought back to Iceland, and in particular Akureyri, my new home, is wish-cycling an issue in Iceland? Well, I had a hunch, particularly when I moved into a new property 5 years ago, and I was advised by Icelandic friends that, yeah, these disposable chopsticks, well, they're wood, but they're almost paper, so that can go in paper recycling, and other interesting bits of advice there. I suspected it was an issue. So I looked at statistics in Iceland, the environmental agency and the local council and guidance, and in particular found a Facebook group about recycling where people actively post questions, which is very interesting, and formed some thoughts and ideas. Here in certainly in Akureyri, our plastic waste goes to a company called Terra, and Terra only deal with plastic packaging. There is a tax for material that comes into the country with plastic packaging, and they sell the plastic recycling batches overseas, and depending on the quality of the waste, the quality of the plastic, they will get a different price. Of course, if the batches need to be hand sorted and you have to take out contaminated material, this then adds to the cost. So we should only recycle plastic packaging, hard and soft plastic, and there's a list here: plastic bags, cups, yogurt pots, wrappings that also come around crisp packets. Remember, this is not allowed in the UK. We recycle plastic bags, not allowed in the UK. Plastic trays, including meat trays, as long as they're rinsed. Also, it doesn't tend to happen in the UK. People feel that it's been contaminated by having blood and whatever meat juices on it. And then the usual containers, including styrofoam. I actually tried to get rid of some polystyrene packaging at a local recycling centre in the UK, and I was told, no, you can't recycle that. No, it's not plastic, it's foamy stuff, so you cannot tip this in. But yes, we do recycle that here. And there are guidelines. This is one that's come from Terra, and it gives you details of what you can recycle and gives some examples. Speaking to the manager at Terra, his name's Aithor, he said that the problem is that people try to recycle, his main problem, plastic that's not packaging. This reduces the proportion of packaging in each batch and leads to Terra having to charge municipalities extra because they get less for the sale of these packages, these batches. So We decided to, myself and Auster decided to try and survey, a small scale survey, local people, educated people, people who were connected with the university, as well as members of the general public, and show them 15 items of waste plastic and ask them what they would do with it. This plastic consisted of pure plastic, as well as mixed media containing other material, possibly paper, possibly foil, and other non-packaging plastic waste and general waste. So we, again, I say it's a small-scale survey, 38 responded. We tried to put it out to Akureyri. We had a few out-of-towners that responded as well, but that was fine. So here are the results. Pure plastics, most recycled pure plastics correctly. So here we have a milkshake container. It's PET, I believe. Don't know whether the outer coating is PVC or PET. From translating the Italian, it looks like it's the same material. But it's interesting to note that it says on here, remove sleeve before recycling. Sometimes the plastic sleeve around the bottle is not the same type of plastic. And this is what you would do in the UK. You would remove the sleeve, but you don't need to here. You just toss the whole thing in. Obviously, rinse it out first. Ever so slightly less in terms of the skier packet, possibly because of the food that might remain in it, and then a soft fruit container was recycled effectively. The recycling of mixed media material was a little bit more dodgy, I would say, using a proper scientific term. The sinful packaging here, the most sinful of all, is, I didn't buy this, by the way, it was left by a visitor, left it in my house. The soft chips in a tube, I won't call them by name. So this has plastic on the top. It doesn't have foil, it's a coated paper lid. We've got cardboard and we've got metal at the bottom. I would, or I have done in the past, I've taken the plastic and put that in plastic. This little bit of paper has multiple layers, so that goes in the main bin. The cardboard is recycled in cardboard, according to Audrey, and I actually cut the metal piece off, and that goes in metal. That's how I felt it should be done. If you look at the guidelines, they say remove the plastic, get rid of the paper top, and the rest can go in cardboard. But that means they have a further process to sort them. So in terms of this, and also butter that comes with this one with a foil top and with paper around the outside. We've got mixed media. Less people said that they, when they spoke about the process, they recycled them. They didn't recycle them correctly. And it's interesting to note that even if you remove the paper or the cardboard by soaking, you cannot put wet cardboard in because that snarls up the equipment that the cardboard goes in. Oops, sorry. So, non-recyclable and non-packaging. This was a little bit more hit and miss. We had an old toothbrush, an old sponge, washing up sponge, used COVID test, and this is the one that always appears on the Facebook site, the tablet capsule container. And these were not recycled effectively. 51% would put the old toothbrush in the recycling bin, 11 put the old sponge in, 14 would recycle the COVID test, even though it's a biohazard, and 30% would put the blister pack in the recycling bins. So, clearly, what I want to say here is that, you know, we in Iceland still don't have a absolute guidance on which plastics are recyclable. I really take on board Patrick's point of view about water bottles as well, because that's one thing that we're trying to encourage, particularly tourists. But there is a guidance that follows the Nordic system, which is, yes, you put paper in here and you put plastic in there, but there's still scope for guidance in terms of exactly what plastics can go in. So the results of my survey, our survey, are that people generally recycle pure plastics well here. Mixed media is still rather unclear. There's evidence of Wishcycling with non-packaging plastics and contaminated waste being stated as being recyclable, and some actually questioned when they completed the questionnaire whether their answers were correct. Well, I would do this, but maybe I would do that as well. So, conclusions. I think where I'm heading is that we really do need to educate the public about what's really recyclable, so we get really good recyclable material that can go on to be processed. I particularly am focused on tourists. I run my own Airbnb in the summer, and some tourists have absolutely no idea. So I brought in this morning my breakfast, which was an out-of-date yogurt. Okay, it's sour, I didn't eat it, but that would be put in food waste in my Airbnb by many people, as well as used tissues and other material. So people, not everyone, but some people really do not have a clue who visit us, who could do with just a little bit of additional information just to help them to recycle effectively. I think we could go back to manufacturers and say, hey, come on, you know, you're trying to be more environmentally friendly. Why are you using mixed media? Because the public don't know how to recycle this, or some of them do, but it's a bit of a faff. So can we have a single, you know, can we have PET on the outside and the inside, therefore the whole lot can go in? And I think there's also scope for a wider survey, especially with new legislation coming in Iceland with respect to recycling. There will have to be more attention paid to the kind of the user, the person who does the recycling, to keep them on board, to help them to recycle efficiently. So thank you very much for listening to me. There's my name and my contact details if anyone would like to talk to me after this. Thank you very much. Pringles at